Hi, this is Trevor and Kevin from DT Mining. We're going to show you how to use the Holmatro bags in case of emergency and just to be able to lift a truck or to get someone out of a situation. So the first things is these are the bags. So they basically act as jacks that they lay on the ground. You could use one or both. We're going to have to use both in the case of the truck, just because it's so high up. And in that case, they just sit right on top of one another. So they have these air intake valves that we're going to use our system here to inflate. So I'm going to ask Kevin to start getting some of our equipment out, and I'm going to go get the compressed air bottle.
Yeah, so another thing about these to mention is that these marks here mark the maximum height these will inflate. So if you want to get an idea of how many of these you're going to need to lift up the truck, it's a good idea to first take it over and gauge if that will reach the bottom of the truck. If it doesn't, then it will require two.
So, and then in case if you weren't aware, all of this equipment is staged in the lamp room. This tank will be chained up, and that's just a safety precaution to prevent it from tipping over. So the first thing you want to do is to take this cap off, which exposes the valve here. We're going to put this regulator on. So it just screws right on. You want to make sure it's tight. Now you can read the gauges. So in this specific case, we've got it marked out here. This regulator shouldn't really ever be moved around in any way. It's not something you turn on or off. It's just kind of something you slightly adjust. The pressure in the tank should just be around here that the regulator is allowing to go. So Kevin's going to start getting these hoses together, and I'll have him explain about that. One more thing I wanted to mention about this tank is you pretty much always want to keep at least a hand on it. It's basically a rocket right now. If it falls over, it could break the valve and take off. And that's why we keep this cap on it.
So these hoses are your basic quick connects. All you need to do is just push it until it clicks twice and gets right up to the end of the connection there. And this red hose, you want to make sure is attached to the regulator, which then gets attached to your manifold here, your controls. Again, these are quick connects, so you should be able to just push them in until you get clicks twice.
So I'm going to go ahead and lay down the tank.
And as for stability, that way, in case of any kind of emergency, nobody knocks it over and you'll wind up with a rocket on your hands or anything. So then you want to focus then on which bag is attached to which hose, just so that way when somebody is calling out which bag needs to be inflated, you know which button on the manifold to press. So this quick connect here is going to attach, in this case, to the bottom bag. Again, clicks twice and it's secure. You also want to verify that this valve here is parallel with the hose, so it's open. The yellow is going to go into the other bag. Again, clicks twice and make sure that you have an open valve. Now Trevor also connected the other connections to the quick connects on that manifold in order to lift up the bags.
And they're all color-coded so you know exactly which ones to do. So I'm going to go through and explain pretty much. Right now we don't have the system charged yet, so you're not going to see any pressure on the valves. So these buttons control, they add pressure, decrease pressure. It would be the yellow bag in this case. And then this would decrease the blue. Increase and decrease the blue. So I'm going to hand it off to you and get the air going.
And you probably want to do your best to make sure that these aren't knotted up or kinked or anything. I'm sure they're pretty strong hoses that won't happen easily. Just verify.
Okay, air's coming on.
Okay, and you can see that the pressure had increased on this middle gauge attached to the red hose.
I'm going to increase the pressure on using the regulator. It was had been adjusted just from being jostled around. I'm going to make sure it's within these lines over here. I think it's all right. Yeah, so I'm just going to make sure it's in between those Sharpie marks that were in the close-up earlier that you saw. Okay, so in a situation like this, where we'd be lifting something up to get someone out, I would probably be closest to the victim here and the thing we're trying to lift up, just so I can tell Kevin to raise and lower each bag individually. And I do that by using call-outs, either blue up, blue down, yellow up, yellow down. And if you're by yourself, they're pretty easy to see from a distance. When these are used underground, it's a little harder, but I recommend going up, making sure everything's all right, going back, adjusting, coming, just walking back and forth if you're by yourself. Okay, so I'm gonna tell Kevin, let's do blue up. Yeah, that's probably all right. Let's do yellow up. And you can see how fast those inflate. And there's not really any, I don't think there's any danger of them exploding. They're pretty strong, but as long as, I will say, if you put them under something that's sharp, there is a chance that you could puncture them. So with these, you can see how much they inflate, and they are very strong, so they won't puncture unless they are under something that's heavy and puncturing into them. So be completely sure to avoid any sharp spots that can puncture these, because they can be punctured. It would take a lot to do that, but just avoid that situation.
And in the event that you're lifting up a vehicle too, they're going to be more secure. What you're going to want to do is make sure that they're stable until they get snug beneath beneath the vehicle that you're lifting, and then at that point they won't wobble around like you see them here. They'll be nice and secure.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to let you have, let's do yellow down. So that's another thing you'll notice, is that they deflate a lot slower than they inflate. And that's just because they're emergency devices. They're meant to get somebody out, and they can stay up for quite a long time. And then once the emergency de-escalates, then you can start the process of putting all of this away.
Okay, that was the safe way of using the Holmatro inflatable bags.